Hello guys and girls, and welcome to episode 20 of the VR Inside podcast. This is a weekly VR, AR and MR talk show that is live streamed every Saturday on Nathie's YouTube channel. You can tune into the show live at 4 PM in Europe, 3 PM in the UK and 9 AM in central US. If you missed the podcast for whatever reason, you can catch up with the whole show, which I upload to my own YouTube channel, Virtual Reality Oasis. Or alternatively, check out the audio-only version on Google Play Music, iTunes, and on SoundCloud. If you have any questions, comments, or feedback during the show, chuck them in the chat and we'll try to answer as many as we can. So let me introduce you guys to this group of VR awesomeness. And first off, we'll start with, let me see, this guy. He's soon going to be changing his name to Rowdy Nystat. And that is the RowdyGuy.
Yeah, man, how you doing?
Very, very well. I saw your vlog the other day. I thought it was
Awesome.
very, very nice.
Yeah,
very Casey style.
I had a lot of fun doing it. Like, because I wanted to do it like a little bit different from like the normal stuff that I do, like very like center camera, you know, like you put the camera down and that's it. I wanted to be a little bit more interactive, more like a, you know, like I could take like my viewers a bit with me, and yeah, it was a lot of fun doing that, and I had a great time meeting with all those people, and yeah, it was a fun video. Thanks for that.
Yeah, it was very fun indeed. Very nice video. Next up, he is the supplier of pepper nuts and collector of headsets. It is Nathie. How you doing, dude?
Hey, what's up, guys? Sorry for the bell. The mailman is coming here like 24/7 now because he just delivered this.
What I threatened to do was to send him parts. So I'll send him an arm one week and a leg another week, and then he can assemble a full mic doll, essentially.
I know.
I don't know why you'd want to do that.
Yeah.
It's very nice indeed. It's just super weird me looking at you wearing that as my face.
And he even smells like Mike.
It does. It's a mix of pepper nuts and izumiyaki. It's a true story.
So we are soon going in VR together. It's gonna be
fun. So this next guy, he almost is the savior of the universe. 98% to be precise. It is ZimTok5. How you doing, mate? You alright?
Hey, yeah, good, Mike. It's been a fun week. He's given reference there to our From Other Suns run last night, where we had 4 teams competing, and the winning team made it 98% of the way to Earth before being detonated.
98%.
So, in an hour. Sorry, they each had an hour. So good on them for getting 98% of the way in an hour. That was pretty good.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. You haven't actually finished it yet, right?
Have not finished the game yet, no.
Okay. So, last but not least, myself, Mike, the host of the show from Virtual Reality Oasis. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about the Tobii Eye Tracking, Jumanji in VR, Sprint Vector, and a guy has a seizure in VRChat. So that is going to be the news for this week. But as we do every week now, we're just going to start off with what everyone's been up to this week. So let's fire this off to Zim first. What have you been up to this week, man? What have you been playing?
Okay, I dipped back into something I've been meaning to play for about a year, which is called Scanner Somber, which is one of these interesting games. I said it was very much like the Unfinished Swan or Dear Esther, in that it's very much a kind of a narrated poetic journey. It's a bit of a spooky game. There's bits in there, but the idea is you've got this tracker and it's painting dots, and you start in a completely black environment, which turns out to be a cave, and from there you explore the cave, and I won't give any more than that. So it takes about 4.5 hours to complete it, all in one sitting. So that was that was one of the ones that I've been waiting for a long time to do. I think it sits very much in the middle of, if you liked Dear Esther and you liked the Unfinished Swan, which are kind of similar games, look them up if you don't know what they are. It'd be worth doing. I'm glad I did it, but it's probably not like it's not a everyone has to buy it kind of game.
So it's a walking simulator, right?
Yeah, it's a walking simulator with a pretty good story behind it. But yeah, what can I say? I've got grumbles about it, which I'll say some other time. But okay. it kind of hits somewhere in the middle. You know, it's the kind of thing that's not going to be, if you're an FPS player or a hardcore MMO player, you probably will be bored of this game. But I think it's probably not quite as dull as the walking sim that Rowdy did in the forest, which had a very painted. What was that again, Rowdy? What was the name of that title? Do you remember?
No, I don't. I need to look it up. I need to look it up.
But with this one, it was like it's like very colourful, right? You see sort of dots of bright colours, which guides your way. Kind of reminds me of that one we talked about a while ago, which was Stifled. Yeah,
Stifled. Oh yeah, I haven't even seen Stifled, but the idea is that the dots that are closer to you have a different color.
It was reaching for
as
pedals.
You're going along, reaching for pedals. As you go along, the tracker that you have gets like upgrades. So just as you're kind of getting like, okay, I've been doing this a while, something new gets added. So they do a pretty good job of keeping your interest. I didn't think it was as fast-paced as I wanted it to be. But that, and then From Other Suns was really fun last night, and still doing loads of Assetto Corsa. I'm just really loving my driving games right now, and doing custom tracks like beach tracks and just random stuff like hammer at 250 miles an hour down a tiny little English, countryside is just really, really good fun when you get other people. So that's my week.
Nice. So what about you, Nathie? What you been up to this week, dude?
I played Drunk or Dad because they had a Knuckles DLC free. So I was like, hey, maybe I should check that out before the meme is like completely dead. But for some reason, it still lives on. People still want to know the way. And I also jumped into Stunt Cargi VR. And this is like a sandbox title where you need to build like a track for a dog, a Cargi. And then he will just run around and then do all the tricks you try to learn him. So you can build stuff like Zim, you also played it, right? Ramps and pins and fire and explosions, and it's really funny. Like you can spend at least like 30 minutes on a track, on a stunt course, and then you can play it, and then he tries it out and you change some stuff, and it's really, really cool. At least if you can save the game properly, right?
Yeah.
So he's referring to the fact that I spent 45 minutes customizing my track, getting all the dominoes to fall in the perfect order and all that, and then the game had a crash to desktop with no autosaves, and I lost all my work. So I was very much raging, as you can imagine. But I think the game, to me, it's funny because I think they miss a lot of opportunities. Like I was expecting there to be at least like unlockable props. But you like have everything from the start that you can get in the game, as far as I could tell, and you just arrange them in the area. And there's nothing even like you don't get an award or, there's not like an achievement system that says, oh, you made the dog like hop through 4 hoops or you put more effort into your environment. It's literally just a sandbox. It's a nice looking sandbox. I wish it was, it ran a little bit better. But, I think they just need to do some tuning to make their game more of a game.
Yeah, that's true. I said that as well in my review. Like they need a progression system, where it's more like you can unlock stuff, because you can also dress up your dog, your Cargi, with costumes and hats, but when you get into the game for the first time, you got everything already. So I was like, why not make something so you need to unlock all the stuff, because otherwise there is no reason to play it anymore. So if they do that, then it's great. So
yeah, I remember when Mario Kart 8 came out on the Switch, because they had unlocked everything from the beginning as well, and that was one of my gripes with that version of the game, was that everything was unlocked from the beginning. So like you say, you don't have a sense of achievement or a sense of reward for playing the game. So yeah, that's interesting.
Just as a counterpoint.
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry, just as a quick counterpoint. I was going to say that like achievements are definitely something that we all saw in games come in as like this massive wave, and then like everybody was doing it, and then the whole unlocking cards or loot boxes or whatever, that's come in as well. I don't think that your game has to have achievements to be fun, but the game does have to be fun. It has to have something like a carrot on a stick, something to make you want to come back 45 minutes later, come back the day after,
No, even if it's a sandbox game, if you need to unlock the props you can build in there, then that's great. Also, like, I haven't really said much about the Drunk or Dad game. It's basically you have to drink a lot to stay alive in a bar, and the zombie apocalypse started, but instead of zombies, you got Knuckles that say, hey, do you know the way? And spit on him, bruda, blah, 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 blah. But the funny part is, if you take a certain drink and you drink too much of that, the whole, like, bar changes into a, for example, Russian drinking game, and then all the Knuckles are suddenly dressed up as like little Russian red, well, I want to say hedgehogs, but they are not hedgehogs, sorry. I need to be careful with this meme, because people get angry.
They do.
But in the end, so if you take a drink and you drink too much of that certain thing, then they will actually dress up for the occasion. So,
Yeah, I was actually really disappointed, hashtag spoiler, that you didn't get the little Russian in the tank. That's what I was holding out for the whole time.
There was actually one in a tank.
There was in a tank?
No, I don't know. Like, you
Oh.
I was like getting really excited now. There is no tank.
No. The one in VRChat has a tank, and that was a funny meme where he was wearing a little Russian hat, and I was hoping he was going to be in this demo, because I played it as well this week. Yeah, so go on then, Rowdy. What have you been up to, dude?
I didn't play Drunk or Dead. I played. I almost broke my hand playing a game called Flip the Table. That was fun. Wow. And then I also played a game called the Cooking Game VR, which was an Oculus title. I tried it on, but it felt a little bit bugged out for me. I tried to cook my sausage, but my sausage wouldn't work. So I don't know why. I don't know why. Maybe I did something wrong, but it really, because one moment it would work and the other moment it wouldn't work. And I think I have the video releasing today on that one. Yeah.
Okay.
And then I played. Another one I played was Please Don't Touch Anything. It's a title that's been out for a while already, I think. It's also a title that was originally not for VR, but just regular desktop. It's a hard game though. It's one of the hardest escape room kind of titles that I've tried so far. Very interesting though. I like the concept. I really like that one. And then I dove into.
That's such a rabbit hole of a game though. Like you start off and you're like, this is pretty simple. I'll flip a couple of switches, and before you know, you're like, whoa, things are changing.
Yeah, it's really weird. I didn't get that far, by the way. Like I got like completely stuck and I couldn't figure it out anymore. So yeah, that was a fun one. And then I dove into VRChat for a little while with Viper. But then his headset broke and and we had to stop. It did feel like that. I had like a couple of problems this time with VRChat because there were, I think, like too many players and I kept on being thrown out of rooms. Also, the avatars wouldn't load anymore. I don't know why. Me and Viper had both had the same problem. Like it was just like, or they changed the system of doing it. It just turned red. And then nothing happened. So I don't know.
They got some serious issues with the servers right now. They got a new Twitter account where you can see what the status is, and they constantly have tweets out there. It's like, hey, it doesn't work at this moment. Like it's too much. And we also don't know if there are any trolls that think it's funny to maybe DDoS the servers or I don't know.
Yeah,
it's too much.
So to tell us how you almost broke your hand in this flip the table game, I'm intrigued.
It was so dumb. It was so dumb. Like I was, the game is very simple. It's called Flip the Table. The only thing you need to do is like take a table, flip it, and then destroy everything in the room. And the more you destroy, the more points you get. And I was like, that's kind of fun. It's like a stress reliever. So I started playing it, and all of a sudden, like, I moved a little bit too much to the left, and I just like went under like it's not a table, but it's like a sort of like closet, like a low closet. I put my hands under there, and I just like flipped them up, but like with all of my power, and my controller went flying through the room, and my entire hand was like blue for like 3 days straight, and like this part, it was very, because in the video I kind of like brushed it off a bit. I was like, oh yeah, but you can see me like going down for a moment, like,
you can see the tears rolling down the headset.
That hurt a lot. Yeah, that was quite painful. Yeah.
But it's funny though, like you kept on playing after.
I did that.
He grabbed the controller, like, okay, the show must go on.
I did.
That's dedication for you guys.
I think it was a couple of more minutes that I played it, and it was only when I took my headset off that I saw like the bruise was already starting to appear on it. Like it was starting to like become like a circle. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was
so next time your hand will be amputated because you hit it too high.
Yeah, probably. That's how these things work.
So that's another warning to you guys. Just make sure you clear your freaking areas before you start playing crazy games like this.
Or put your chaperone like far enough from the walls and far enough from the closets.
Yeah. Because if you get hurt in VR, then you get hurt in the real world too.
It's true.
So this week I've been playing a couple of games. I've been playing Gunship Battle 2 VR, which is like a helicopter shooter game. You kind of fly around, complete missions. The story is complete trash, but they've kind of tried to implement one in there, which is interesting. But it just kind of seems like a bad port of a mobile game. I think it was a Gear VR title originally. It's got some weird control schemes as well, like you can actually use your head to steer the helicopter around. So I wouldn't recommend that one. But I also got to check out Sprint Vector, which I played very briefly this morning. We'll be obviously talking more about that later on. And I very briefly played the first 5 minutes of the Contagion VR demo, which is a zombie apocalypse game. They've got a free demo on Steam. But from the first 5 minutes anyway, I was very impressed. It's very nice graphically, and the atmosphere that they've got set in there is very cool, and it's actually story-driven as well. You actually have a mobile phone where you're talking to your girlfriend, and she's obviously, relaying what's happening on the streets while you're in the apartment. So it was a very cool experience. So I'm looking forward to going back in that one and actually doing some recording with that one. But if you want to check it out, obviously it's free to check out the demo on Steam. So yeah, that's pretty much what I've been up to this week. But let's move into our first topic, because we've got an exciting one to talk about today, and that is eye tracking. And eye tracking is one of those things that has been sort of mentioned here and there, but we haven't really discussed on the show in any great detail. But I, for one, actually believe that eye tracking is going to be a very important feature in the future, not just for VR, but also for AR as well. And at CES, they were showing off eye tracking. The company Tobii was showing off some benefits of actually accurately being able to pinpoint where your eye is looking in a headset. So one of the benefits of eye tracking, so obviously they can precisely sort of work out where your eye is looking at. But it can be a great benefit for performance, because there's a thing called foveated rendering. And what this essentially does is, the fovea is a small part of your eye which is responsible for sort of clear and really sharp vision. So when you look directly ahead, you can sort of read text, everything's very clear and crisp. And on your peripheral vision, on the edges, it kind of gets a little bit blurry, so you can't really focus on it too much. So say if you do this at home right now, you're looking straight ahead, and then you look slightly to the right or left, and try and focus on where you was looking before, you'll notice that it's slightly blurred, and you'll struggle to read stuff. So what they're saying is they can use this to make sure that the center where you're looking is at the high definition, and then everything in the peripheral in your headset will be kind of blurred or not rendered at the highest quality. Because if you think about like monitors right now and playing traditional games and traditional VR right now, is that the whole image is rendered at the same sort of definition. Everything's just 100%, right? But if you narrow it down to say this bit's 100% and then the rest of it is down to say 30 to 50%, then you can have a huge saving on performance then. And the reason why this will be great is because, then you don't need such a powerful graphics card to run like high fidelity graphical games. Mobile VR, for example, it could really improve the performance of mobile VR, but also reduce costs in terms of like, the kit required in the headset in the first place. So this is quite an exciting feature. So what do you guys think of that? Have you heard of foveated rendering before, or have you ever sort of considered eye tracking, and what your sort of thoughts on it?
Well,
I've
first
tried
of all,
it.
I would maybe explain the audience what that means for the people that don't know. I don't know if anyone wants to. I'm very bad at explaining, to be honest.
But foveated rendering is what Mike just explained.
Foveated rendering.
Yeah, that's what I was just describing.
So that's exactly what I just explained.
Yeah, okay.
So like, you've got this real sharp, clear view right in the center where your eyes are going to be looking. And because it can track your eyes, that can obviously move around in tandem with your eyes. Obviously, latency is going to be the biggest key here, because you want it to be one-to-one. But then, like I say, wherever you look, that's rendered at the best performance and the best quality, and then everything around it is reduced, because the peripheral vision of your eyes isn't as important, and your eyes actually make up a lot of the information.
The games industry already did this, actually. They already took this leap, because originally, some years back, they would render the entire environment. You'd load it into environment, you'd render all of it, and also, one of the things that you can see for games that were produced pre that era of switchover to rendering just the scene or just what you can see, is like, if you took, I used to play on the DK2, Quake 2, which they had the entire player character modeled, the gun modeled, all that. If you go and you play, take a recent game, Dirt Rally, and you look behind you, the car's not, the boot of the car isn't even there. It's like half a car, because they didn't bother building it. They don't bother rendering it, because it's just taking away performance. So it's exactly the same thing. I think efficiency, as you say, Mike, spec-wise for your machine, I mean, there's two ways to go about it. You either bring PCs, up to the mark that you need, or you take the content and the generation, you get more efficient with it. It's the same thing you do with budgets in a company, So I think it's absolutely brilliant that they're working on it. I'm totally for it. Big big hug to the industry who's trying to develop it. I just think that there's a lovely big brothery evil side to it, which is two things. You're going to be able to tell, you know, through where people are looking, kind of half step to what people are thinking. And I wonder if we're going down the way of, I mean, it's definitely an advertiser-friendly thing, isn't it? It's like, and I wanted to see, when I was watching the video, I wanted to see a realistic man walk into a shop and not look at the assets around the shop. You know what I mean? Like, it's just because that's going to happen in these videos.
So you're right. Like there is a bit of a concern that this information, where your eyes are looking and what they're drawn to, could be sold to advertisers. So that is a concern. So say, you know, you walk into a scene, or there's adverts that are, you know, used in VR, which could be the way the future is. You know, we could have adverts in VR that they could track where your eyes is drawn to. So say it's like a Coca-Cola advert. Are you drawn to like the bottle, or are you drawn to the logo? Are you drawn to like, you know, another part of the advert? So then they could use that information to make adverts tailored almost to what you're drawn to.
But that is already occurring now as well.
It's already happening,
that's
right?
already
On the
happening
web
now. Like,
yeah, it's already happening.
I know that McDonald's did an entire research on like what is the most kind of annoying lighting that we can produce in our restaurants so that people won't stay too long, but they literally come, eat, and leave again. So there's a lot of stuff going on about that, and psychology, and McDonald's is hiring psychologists. They're left, right, and center, you know.
And stepping out like a year or two into the future, the thing that I think we already see, right, like your world that you ingest. In other words, when you face off to the internet, when you look at your phone on it, that looks very different to some lady who owns a shoe shop.
Yeah.
Right? Very different. And I think all that this is going to do is customize that even further, to the point that, you know, in Minority Report, how the guy hacks his eyeballs out and gets other eyeballs in, and he sees all different ads that are like broadcast to a different person. Your profile as an individual, and as you grow and develop and bots learn what you want and don't want, that's going to wrap around you like this tight little universe that's like all your thing. And I think it's going to be a really interesting change, because that universe, that kind of sidestep from everybody else, it just becomes more unique, and we get closer to the origin of your name, you know, get into the oasis.
So looking at the chat, Cole Country Gaming says eye tracking will be great for air sim players or mech combat sims, and Sweeviver is now watching us while he's driving a car. Be careful, please. But he's saying that it's quite impressive because he actually tried the Tobii eye tracking. I tried the
foveated tracking as well. I tried it. It's actually an Nvidia prototype where they were testing it out. It was actually quite impressive. I mean, it's basically the way that our own eyes work as well. Like you explained very nice actually, Mike. Like the pinpoint of our vision is very, very small. There's only like a few millimeters that you actually see very sharp, and everything around that is very blurry actually. It's when you move your eye that you actually can see sharpness. And doing that in VR is, for me, I mean, I said this before as well, is the only logical step forward. If we want to have 8K resolution, 16K resolution, or even higher, then the only way that we can go forward with the tech that we have now is by foveated rendering. And I think that is coming actually much faster than we think.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's going to be a real big deal in the next couple of years. But there's also some other benefits of eye tracking as well, and that is so with the current gen VR headsets, putting in your correct IPD is a real important factor. So your IPD is your interpupillary distance, which is essentially the distance between your eyes. And having this calibrated correctly when you set up a headset for the first time is really important, and it can affect, you to get the best possible view for your eyes set up in it. But also it can, if you get it set up wrong, it can affect, the way you feel. It can cause nausea, it can cause discomfort. So if you're demoing a VR headset to a lot of people, you really got to be, it's really important to make sure that they set their IPD correctly, because I've seen it so many times in demos where people just put the headset on, and because they're not aware of VR or unaware how important your IPD level is, that they just put it on and then they just kind of do an experience, and then they're like, oh, it kind of made me feel a bit ill, or I wasn't very comfortable in it. And it's normally down to the way your IPD is set up, because everyone is obviously slightly different. So with something like this, with eye tracking technology, well then it'll know straight away the distance between your eyeballs. So then hopefully that the headset will automatically be adjusted to your distance automatically. So if you're swapping different users, well, it will just change based on the tracking of your eyeballs, which is going to be a really neat little feature as well.
We got an interesting comment actually. It says from Amatrakowski. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. It's eye tracking will ruin all VR channels on YouTube. Well, what do you guys think
Really?
about that? I mean, I don't think that, because I think that the rendering, it's already different now. The way that it's rendered in the headset is already different from the way that it's rendering in on the screen. So I don't think that the screen that will be visible on the desktop will be the same as the one in the headset.
No, but even then, right?
I agree.
The what you're talking about is the performance of the game, and I don't think you're talking about rendering the peripheral vision to an extent where it would be blurred or anything like that. You're actually talking about forcing processing power into a finer band so that things that you will not look at or won't be caring about and won't be shown on screen, that's the stuff that, you know, gets lower touch. Actually, in the headset, as you said, Rowdy, there should be no impact to the end user. And actually, to users of the headset, again, if they succeed with this technology, you won't notice the difference. The only difference is the game will take less processing power.
I think what he means is he's worried about the display that is captured by VR YouTubers when they're capturing their game.
Yep.
So what he's worried about is that the display mirror on the desktop that we capture will have that, but I don't think it will. I think the display capture that we capture will still be the full scene, but it's just the performance in the headset that will change. And
I think that's going away, by the way. I think the window on the desktop is so antiquated because you're re-rendering a whole nother scene, essentially.
Well, for us, it's important, right? For us, it's important. Not maybe for everyone else, but
what I'm saying is you should only generate one render. You should not be generating two. Because if you've ever looked at the performance hit of having a window on your desktop, it's material.
Yeah, that's probably true, but certainly for us, we would want the tools to keep something like that in place, right? Otherwise, we're out of a job, right? And we couldn't share that. So
but I'm talking about
happen.
the Nvidia. So, like, think about the standalone headsets, right? Like, you're not going to have the standalone headset necessarily mirroring the desktop forever, right? You're going to have one rendering path with a fork at that point. So you foveate and all that, but you're not going to be right now. It's back as it's the same as the old OC tool. The original, DK1 tool did this duplicated mirroring, and we haven't gotten away from that yet, and I'm really surprised. But Nvidia and AMD are working on it.
But certainly, we still want those tools, and I'd imagine they won't go for us. But then again, we're at the sharp end anyway.
I don't think they're going to take away a way to record gameplay, for sure.
No,
they will keep
definitely
that.
not.
Keep that.
Definitely not. But the other benefits are in gaming and obviously social experiences. Like the thing is, the first step with interacting with an object in real life is looking at it, right? So if you could just look at an item and then just press the grip, and then it just is picked up, rather than looking at it, then I've got to move my hand to pick it up. Like, that could speed up things, and if you've got menus and stuff like that, you could just look at the menu, press the button, you're there. And apparently from early reports of people that have tried this kind of technology, I don't know if you had a similar experience, but they found it's almost like they had superpowers in a way. You're just kind of looking, and then you can interact with that item straight away without having to physically move your hand or move a controller or move a mouse or a keyboard. You're just looking at it, you press the button, you're in that experience.
Yeah,
I don't know if you guys have experienced that.
I've seen other games being developed like that as well, where they not only use foveated rendering, but also brainwaves. So the more that you focus, that you can actually move things around. So I think there's a lot of exciting technology coming around in that field. Yeah.
And it's funny because I was watching some videos when I was researching this earlier on, and there was a Twitch streamer just doing a traditional game. I think it was Overwatch, and he was playing, and what you could see on the stream was where his eye was focused. So that was actually overlaid on his Twitch stream, so his viewers could see where he was focusing all his attention, which I think is a really neat feature. So, say you're in the chat and you want to him to notice you, it's oh yeah, he finally noticed me, he kind of looked at my message. I thought that was kind of funny. And then I think he was following one of the female characters, and he was clearly looking at one of their backsides, and it was funny, because he couldn't lie about it, because it was happening. Everyone could see it on the stream, so I thought that was kind of funny as well.
There's another side to this. Sorry, Mike. On the medical front, right? Well, I hope that they do think about the fringe side users here. So if you have no hands, this whole idea of VRing and not having touch controls, if you do have this kind of eye tracking, it could overcome that barrier.
Yeah, that's true.
That's nice. Yeah. You can be Magneto.
You can, exactly. You can like use the Force to bring items towards you. It would be kind of cool. But the other big thing, obviously, is presence, because presence in VR is something that's really special. You know, meeting up with other people in a VR social experience and hanging out with them is great. But having that ability to actually look into someone's eyes, well, that is a game changer for me, because I actually noticed this during a recent interview when I was doing an interview for Big Screen with Darshan Shankar. And we were talking together, and obviously his avatar was standing in front of me, I was standing here, and he's obviously programmed the software, so when both characters' heads are kind of aligned, looking at each other, their eyes kind of lock in and make contact, right? And that's a real big thing for immersion, because you feel like you're actually having a conversation with someone because you're looking at them in the eyes. And establishing eye contact is one of the primary ways we connect.
That, like, uncanny valley, right? Like, you know, that you feel like you're like actually talking to a real physical being instead of some kind of weird construct.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you can effectively track a user's eye movement, you can then feel more connected with someone in a VR experience if you're both looking at each other in the same way and looking at each other's eyes. And then, you know, if you're embarrassed or slightly uncomfortable and you look away, well, you can pick up those telltale signs through body language. And that's when body language in VR is going to be real cool, and it's going to be much more immersive. You're going to feel much more presence with the people that are around you. Like VRChat, for example, and we'll touch more on VRChat later, but right now a lot of the avatars, they're just forward-facing, blank. You don't see much in eye movement. There are avatars that do have eye movement, but they're not sort of tracked that much in terms of where you are as an individual.
Yeah, that's true. That's funny. That's why, for example, in Rec Room, it works so well, because they don't really have any like eyeballs. They always look at you, or that's what you think, at least.
But
so
they
do
show emotions
where they look at you.
They do show emotions in Rec Room, because you can like
that's true.
When you like start talking louder, then like the eyes change and stuff like that. It's actually nicely done. It's nicely done. It is actually quite accurate.
It is. I agree.
Yeah, so that would be really, really cool. I'm actually really excited about this kind of technology. And it's not just Tobii, this Swedish company, that are looking at this kind of technology. There's also the VIII, which is a Chinese startup. They're doing an add-on for the HTC Vive, and they're also releasing their own headset with this technology integrated into it, called the VIII. You've got Pimax, obviously. You know, they mentioned in their Kickstarter that once they reached the stretch goal, that they'll introduce eye tracking modules into their sort of hardware development, so you can buy that as an upgrade. And then other companies such as Google, Facebook, and Apple, they've all sort of purchased eye tracking companies in the past. So I think eye tracking is going to be a real big deal in the near future, and I'm pretty excited about it.
Yeah, definitely.
So the other thing, just going back to Tobii just quickly, they also do a business edition of the headset with Tobii built into it as standard. It's just for developers at the moment, but obviously this technology is being worked on in the backgrounds, and it will slowly trickle down. And I imagine by the end of this year, we'll sort of see more of this in the mainstream. And again, like I say, I'm pretty excited about that sort of technology. So moving on to something that's really, really cool and really exciting, to something that's maybe not so cool or exciting, and that is Jumanji VR. So Survios, the team behind Raw Data and Sprint Vector, which we're obviously going to be talking about more later on today, has teamed up with Sony Pictures Virtual Reality to bring Jumanji VR to consumers and VR arcades. Now, just to be clear, Survios didn't make this experience. It's not made by Survios. It's actually made by Sony Virtual Reality and in partnership with MWM Immersive, which used to be a company called Reality One. So they've made this Jumanji VR adventure to coincide with, obviously, release of Jumanji, the new movie with Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, and is it Kevin Hart? So they've released this VR experience, But the thing is, like having seen it, I don't know if you guys have seen this, and we're probably playing the trailer now.
It's playing right now.
You know, you see initially.
Wait. So Survios is publishing this then?
Well, they're helping distribute it through the network that they already have established with VR arcades. That's their involvement in it.
Oh, and this development studio also made the Spider-Man experience then?
That's right, yes.
Okay, yes. Tell us more.
So, as you're probably aware, like, we wasn't massive fans of the Spider-Man Homecoming VR experience, but then even this makes that look good, to be honest, because from the trailer, as you're probably watching now, it looks great. Like, you've got the movie bits to tie in with it, and then it cuts to game, and it's just like, wow, this looks like a PS2 game. It looks so bad.
By the way, the music is playing really hard right now. So
Yeah,
they
I
will
turn it
not be
down.
able to hear you.
It's something in OBS.
Sounds epic though. I like it. It's very
yeah.
spices up this podcast a bit.
You get the full experience now.
Yeah.
But yeah, like Nathie said, Servios are just helping distribute this, essentially, because they've got a great established network with VR arcades where they allow VR arcades to play like raw data and obviously Sprint Vector in the future. So they've kind of used that network with Sony Virtual Reality and MWM to kind of distribute Jumanji VR to arcades. But what I was thinking is, can you imagine you're a 14, 15-year-old kid, you've got some money from your parents, you think, yeah, I'm going to go down to the local VR arcade and check out some awesome VR content, and then you try Jumanji as your first VR title. Oh my word, you're going to think, what is this? You know, it just looks so bad.
I don't know. I mean, can you really talk about it? I mean, if we haven't played it, I mean, it might look terrible and it might play great.
There's one thing that I will like give them: the fact that they went for a third-person VR experience. I mean, that's something you don't really see that much. So I do like the fact that you can help the rock from up there and then say like, okay, you need to do this now, and you need to, because you need to place objects too, so he can go to the other side, and you need to, it's kind of like a little Age of Empires kind of like a spin-off where you need to tell him attack that and go there. So I do like that, like they went for a third-person thing instead of just the casual. But I don't know, I haven't played myself either. Like what I've seen so far, I'm like, yeah.
The thing is, like, let's be clear, Zim, like, we've all played enough VR games to look at some sometimes and think, this is going to be garbage. I'm sorry, but like, let's just give you a good example here. Halo Recruit, I knew from straight away watching that video, it was garbage, and I wasn't proved wrong. And I'm pretty sure, I'll bet my beard on this game that it's going to be garbage, because...
I'm not saying it's not, I'm just saying that I think it's... the thing you can see in the trailer is that it's mixed. It's mixed first and third person, which is kind of interesting. I don't remember the last title that I had that was like that.
It's kind of like a God simulator, right? You're overlooking the play area, and then you can manipulate items within the play area. So, you know, it says, oh, you can move boulders, you can make tree bridges for, like, the rock to cross, and help little Kevin Hart, who's stuck in a little prison.
Paradise Decay says, the film was terrible.
The film was terrible. Well...
Okay.
Yeah, it looks like the VR experience is going to be terrible as
I
well.
liked the film. I thought it was a great film. Lots of laughs. My wife and I were in tears in the cinema with that, actually. It was quite good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Different opinions. That's a good thing.
Like, dude, even if this movie is great or it sucks, I haven't seen it myself yet. I'm really curious about it. I think it's going to be cool. Even if it sucks, just go back to the old ones. I mean, those ones were really awesome too. So, I mean, we shouldn't
complain. Old what? Old
Jumanji
games.
movies, you know?
Oh, old Jumanji movies.
Yeah.
Was there a game before? Like a SNES game?
Maybe.
Possibly.
Probably.
But the other great thing about this game is that when you're in the game, to start it, you actually have to shout Jumanji into your headset.
Brilliant. That is so brilliant.
I like that.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
it was funny. There was,
that's +1 for me. +1 for me.
Yeah. There was a Twitch streamer, and he was playing it at like really early in the morning or late at night, and he was like, I can't shout out Jumanji because everyone's going to wake up in my house. So what he actually did was to get around it, he just blew into the mic really hard, and then that actually started the game. So it's obviously just based on your sound levels.
Honestly, I'm really curious about what the budget is for these kind of things. Like, you know, we can't blame the developers on this. Maybe they actually want to bring something really, really nice, but they don't have enough money to do it, you know, or they don't get enough funds to make something happen.
Yeah,
but this is a downgrade
Jumanji?
compared to Spider-Man Simulator, okay? This is a little worse.
If you're telling me that Sony Pictures don't have enough money to make a decent VR experience...
that's not what I'm saying, but they are not willing to give more because they don't see VR like as...
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Then it's also not going to be a great experience if they don't.
That's
if
right.
they're not willing to invest in it, then it makes sense that It's not gonna be great.
So
the
it's out
Spider-Man
for
one
public.
was a great start. Like if they added more to it and you could actually swing and you were walking
But it was an
around a bit,
advertisement.
then,
It was
boy,
an
that
ad-
was like a
Nobody.
It was an advertisement.
It wasn't made to make people go and play that
No,
game.
no.
It was made to make people go and watch the movie. And
No, but
Yeah.
but still, like they were heading into the right direction with this whole movie thing. I was getting really pumped for the movie when I was playing it, but since they ended it with the swinging part and nothing happened after, I was like, is this it? Then, but compared to the Blade Runner experience we had and Coco VR, this is really something silly. Okay.
But this is the thing. This is the worst part about it is that it's not even free. You have to pay for it.
Oh no!
So,
No
Yeah,
way!
it's not free. I know that part is a bit.
So you're paying $3.99 in British pounds, which equates to about like $5-6 to play an advertisement.
No.
Essentially.
that's so
And
wrong. That's so
that
wrong.
I'm sorry, is just plain bullshit because. Like you say, the Blade Runner was like a 20-minute long interactive experience.
Let me
that
just
was
show the
very
trailer
nice
one
and
more
very
time
polished.
here.
Blade Runner
Yeah,
should have been
do
paid,
good.
to be honest. I think Blade Runner should have been paid.
They did the same with Justice League as well. You had to pay for that too. It's like you want to promote the movie, right? Then let people save up for a ticket to go to the movie instead.
Yeah. No, I totally agree.
Okay,
totally agree.
first I was like, for a free thing, well, okay, fair enough. But if I look at this and I need to pay for it, I'm like, I don't know. I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna give it a try for maybe a video because I mean it's The Rock and maybe he has some cool jokes I can listen to while playing. But
Well,
they
apparently-
could have brought the audio in. If they brought the Jumanji audio in, then that in itself is going to be fun.
Well,
But
you may be excited to know then, Zim, that they actually put the sort of some lines in from the actual trailer. So they haven't taken them from the movie, I don't think. They've taken them from the trailer. So you've got The Rock that says 2 lines and Kevin Hart that says 2 lines as well. So you can enjoy those on loop and loop for the whole 10-20 minutes you play this.
I mean,
experience.
you have a toy figure of The Rock and you can just send it wherever you want. I mean,
Yeah. So I
What
actually
more
read
do
through
you
some of
want
the
in a
Steam.
game, right?
But I do like the concept of you leading someone to the other side while building things in the world. I do like that.
Yeah,
If it-
but the other thing is, like, I looked at some of the Steam reviews, and user Boognish, he left a very detailed Steam review where he referred to the game as the worst VR game ever made. He also goes on to say that he experienced glitches, bad textures, clipping. He also detailed that if things start getting a bit heavy, you can actually take the Rock out of the game and just flick away all the bad guys and then just put the Rock back in and then the game just carries on. So yeah, it just sounds, everything about it sounds pretty awful. But the way I kind of thought about it afterwards, like if I was working for Sony Pictures right now and I thought, right, I've been given a small budget to make a Jumanji game, what would I do? Well, I would probably look about and see what other sort of games are out there right now. And something like Loco Dojo, for example, which is kind of like a board game, because Jumanji, at the end of the day, it is a board game, right? Yeah. And then you go into different mini games as different experiences, which is exactly what happens in the movie, right? Especially in the original movie. I don't know about the new one, but when they roll the dice, different things happen.
New one's a totally different film. I actually think that what you're saying, Mike, is I agree. If you're an indie studio, small budget, what you should go for is, recreate that board game off the original movie.
Yeah. But that's not what the new movie's like.
No.
You say, oh, okay.
And the reason
I
I would
didn't know
do that is because people who've paid for VR headsets are likely in the age bracket who saw the original film and know that and are bought into it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. They would have been better off just paying like the guys that made Loco Dojo, some money to say, look, adapt your existing engine and game to our movie franchise, and they would have come out with something way better.
Like what they should have done with Jumanji was like there's a part where you play in first person, so you need to open like the game, and then the trailer pops up. That's your surprise. And then you need to watch the trailer. But what they could have done, like, you rolled the dice and then it just rolled to a certain part of the movie and then stuff happened around you. So you had like maybe 6 things that were going to happen where maybe, I don't know, a tiger is attacking you, and then I haven't watched the movie, so I'm kind of talking about something. But you know what I mean? So what you had in the old Jumanji movies where something was going to happen around you when you were rolling the dice, that could have been fun. But I don't know, like if I look at this game as it is right now, or experience, then I don't think they had enough money to even roll the dice once. So yeah.
Yeah, it seems a shame. But again, you know, I think we need to be clear that, you know, movie time experiences are all well and good if they're polished and they're decent. Yeah. But I don't think we should be being charged for this kind of experience unless they're full games, obviously.
Yeah. And I feel kind of bad for Survios because their name is now linked to this, and they have like 2 really like decent titles. Like Sprint Factor's coming out soon, and Raw Data has been very popular. But then we got this, like
and I wonder if they ever got to experience the game prior to agreeing to this deal. I don't know. I would be interested to know.
If they were the ones that had to sell this game to everyone out there, then they had a hard time, I guess. But I don't know.
But like I said at the beginning, the reason why Survios are obviously involved in this, they didn't make it, just to be clear, is just to help distribute it to their network of arcades. But I doubt that we'll be hearing the cries of Jumanji from VR arcades anytime soon. Anyway. But going on to Survios, talking about something that they were involved in that was pretty bad, to something that actually looks really, really cool, and I got to try it earlier on today, and that is Sprint Vector. So Sprint Vector, for those that are not aware, is Survios' latest game. It's actually just gone into closed beta, so you can apply to be in the closed beta. It opened yesterday, the 19th of January, and will be open all the way up until the 28th of January. So you can apply for it on their website, and then if you get access, they'll give you a code for the game to check it out and test like the multiplayer and everything else. So I actually checked this out this morning, and I thought it was really, really fun. I love the art style and the bright colors of it and the music. I thought it was great, and it just felt very different from everything else. You know, swinging your arms and that sense of like really fast movement. They just nailed it, I think. The only things I had problems with as a complete noob was cornering. I still kind of need to get a bit used to that, but I think with a bit more practice, I'll probably get the hang of that quite quickly. But I'm actually looking forward to jumping in and being in a competitive game with other players, because right now I've only just played against other AI players. But I think players around the world and actually doing some smack talk with them in-game would actually be pretty cool. So I'm kind of looking forward to that. But you guys have checked out Sprint Vector already, right, as well?
Yeah. Yeah, it feels like ice skating when you move around, and you can drift a bit with your controllers, you know, and you can use power-ups to shoot someone down. And there's so many, like when you are skating on the track, you are able to go different ways. So you can choose a path on the left, and you got like secret ones, you know, like in Mario Kart. And that's really nice, and you can go so fast, and it's like a real workout. And yeah, there are so many like tactics you can use in this game too. And I haven't played the multiplayer yet. I think like multiplayer wise, that's the only interesting part about Sprint Factor. I don't feel like people want to go for the single player. I mean, multiplayer, it feels so much more alive, more competitive, more challenging, etc. So.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's the space pirate trainer people, Nathie, who are going to eat this to pieces. You know, people who are on scoreboards and like, I am like Rowdy, who's like, I'm fastest YouTuber alive. Well, fucking prove it.
I'm not saying that's in a game. I mean, games slow me down and stuff. I'm talking about the real world, of course.
That's what's coming out now.
If you want, you can always come down to Belgium and we'll race. We'll race.
Go race. A good old-fashioned run race.
No, it's good. It's I think it's matured quite a bit since I played it. I played it about a year and a half ago. And managed to kind of jump in the game and got second at that 3-day convention off of the floor. So I'm pretty good at it, I think, out the box. But it's a great way to exercise. Like, that's what I've been praying, and I've been begging Survios for months now. It's like, release your game because it's winter, and I want to exercise. I mean, I've been playing Box VR, but this game is another whole level of exercise. Like, if you can spend full force 60 minutes in Sprint Vector, then you've done your cardio for the day. You know, you're done. It's very, very involved.
Be careful though, people with headsets. Sweat and electronics, they don't go well together.
No, that's true.
But no, the competitive side is so much fun. Like when you were racing with friends, I've only raced against one other player, and that was bloody awesome. But the competitive, 8 players? God, I can't wait. 5 o'clock today, hour and 10 minutes, and then we're fucking racing. I can't wait.
Nice. But like you say, you really have to swing your arms. So you have to like bring it up here, then really swing it behind you whilst holding the button. And then you obviously do that in tandem to like propel yourself forward. It's very nice, but like we said at the beginning of the show, like Rowdy is a prime example, make sure your area is clear, because once you are in the zone in this game, you're going to be swinging your arms like a crazy man. Yep. And if you've got stuff around you, you're just going to smash it to pieces. Because like you say, you have to turn around, and you have to physically turn, you know, in real life. So just make sure you got a clear area when you play this game, please, people. But yeah, Sprint Vector is going to be coming to the Vive, the Rift, and PSVR. But you were slightly concerned, Zim, about maybe the PSVR integration of this one.
I think the tracking might be a problem given the speed. If you think about it, it's just based on tracking a light source, doing essentially this, and also one of the issues that you have is, depending on their locomotion mechanism, and what I mean by that, with you, what you just said, pivot locomotion, one of the issues that I had in Farpoint particularly was moving outside of their, let's say, 120-degree angle of good tracking. So if you're pivoting, it could get really annoying in the same way that it was during Doom. So I'm a little bit worried about the PSVR implementation. I think the game will run fine because it's relatively lo-fi in terms of its graphics. But yeah, I'd say this is one to play on Rift, because the Vive controllers as well like to knock off each other, because you got like these soup ladles and also knock off tables and stuff. You could literally crack a Vive controller in half if you smack it off of something hard enough. So I'd say if you have any options in front of you, Rift is definitely the one, because you won't be knocking your controllers together.
Yeah, so they're actually opening up the multiplayer this weekend. So if you manage to get into the open beta, you can play in the UK anyway. I think it's from 5 till 8. Is it
5 p.m. today? I'm streaming it as well.
Yeah,
5 to 8 daily for the next 2 weeks.
Nice. So if you want to jump into some multiplayer Sprint Vector, then there are the times to do it. I would totally recommend going and check it out.
Question for you, Mike. I don't know. I think the EU and NA servers are separated, which is unfortunate, because if you have friends in the other region, I think they're only opening, because it's 5 to 8 p.m. in North America for the North America servers. That's up. And then EU servers are up. So what I don't know yet, if someone's going to find a way to be smart and log on to the EU servers during the EU slot, and then vice versa. So
yeah,
well, technically you could, if you got like a VPN, you could do that. But I'm wondering, why are they doing this first? Because maybe they want to test out like the European server and the American one. Because in the end, you want to go overseas too, right? That's like a tricky thing, especially in VR, because it needs to be accurate and the server needs to send all that info to everyone too. So
it'll be fine though. I mean, like I regularly play with people in Australia and California in games that are more complicated than this. So I really don't think that even 150 millisecond ping is going to affect you materially in this game.
Well, you never know, because sometimes you play a game, your hands are on the ground, and you don't have any hands. So, I mean, you know.
That's true.
Sometimes your hands are gone, and you need to find your hands. We played like a Wild West game together, and the server was going nuts, and my hands and also Rowdy's hands and everyone's hands were on the ground.
Fine for me!
We were looking for the hands for like an hour. And
although
I don't know, it was weird.
Hands are right here, Nathie, right here. It's not too difficult.
No, you say it worked fine for you, Zim, but you were walking around like doing the splits. It was crazy.
Yeah, that's right.
You see, you only ever our relationship, Mike, is just like waist high, waist up. You know, that's how I walk in real life. All right, so you know, sorry.
But maybe you'll see a video when they've updated the game. We'll jump back into it.
Actually, on that note, one thing I didn't mention in what I played last week was VRChat, and one of the things that I saw, which was pretty bloody awesome, was foot tracking off of a buddy of mine named Bull. And that, on models, when you see it, is very, very interesting.
Yeah.
Full body tracking, that fluidity, when you see the full character moving. Again, to your point, Mike, about when we were talking about the foveated rendering, when you see a full body moving, something in your brain goes, it breaks that uncanny valley, and you go, that's a human. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Now, at that point, it was a very busty anime girl human, but, you know, it could have been anybody.
Yeah, there's plenty of those around.
I do see a comment here. Someone says we need like a Vive Sport Edition.
Vive Sport Edition, yeah.
Anti-sweat.
They need something that's going to address that, because I don't know how many demos you guys have done, but there are some people I've put into my Rift or Vive, and my God, there's a waterfall coming out of them. It is scary.
Crazy.
Well, I know that Tribal had Barnacles have a play with his Rift, and his Rift was like destroyed with his Vive, not his Rift, his Vive.
Yeah.
And
he's a particularly sweaty chap, though, Mr. Barnacles.
Yeah, okay, but you know, you have those kind of people that buy Vives as well.
You do.
That was the thing, like when we went to OC4 last October, I actually took my VR cover with me, and every demo I tried, I was like, you can feck off if I'm using your cover, mate. I literally whipped it off and put my own in, because I was like, I don't want anyone else's face goober on my face.
But that's interesting, though, like, with the Vive Pro, they didn't really say much about that. Like, maybe they sealed it, like, in a way, but I don't think so. They should really look into this for the future with VR headsets.
We're slowly learning the characters on this podcast. So Zim doesn't like wireless transmission near his head. Mike doesn't like touching germs. Rowdy just generally doesn't like people, and we're still working out what's wrong with Nathie.
Nathie's an alien.
Go on, Nathie, go on. Well, that's it. He's showing the love. He's got the mic pillow out again for the audio listeners. Yeah. But I'd be interested to know your thoughts on VRChat, because you know, we've obviously talked about it a lot. You finally jumped back in after a long time absent, and it kind of will bring us nicely into our next topic. So what were your thoughts and experiences with VRChat then, Zim?
Yeah, all in all, as I think I mentioned before, I did quite a bit of time in the 3 main chat apps about 2 years ago. So the last time I was in VRChat was 2 years ago, a little bit more than that. It was for the 2015 Christmas party that they were hosting, which was like it was kind of like maturing on what Palmer Luckey had said, which was everybody come around my place. And so it was actually for, I think it was the Christmas or New Year's, I can't remember, one of those two. And it was like, come in. I had a negative experience because of technical tracking issues. My wheel or something was plugged in, so I spun in place, and that was 2 years ago. So that was the last time, and I noped out then. I didn't nope out. I went into it. Actually, it was kind of interesting because I compared it against another app that I wanted to go see. So I went into VRChat, and then shortly after I went into Janus VR, and they're very similar apps and kind of doing different technical things. It was interesting to see because back in the day, I would have said that Janus was better than VRChat in terms of its implementation and what you could do. I'd say those have leapfrogged, but I definitely had issues. I had technical issues, and so I'm going to give it a breather for a month or so and let things calm down. I thought I'd given it enough space to kind of get away from what I'll call the community spike. I was kind of hoping to avoid this kind of, you know, the Eye of Sauron that's come down on VRChat, and it's like, you know, you get the crazy noise. And what I wanted to experience, because I know some of the members of the VRChat team who come and watch the stream from time to time and actually kind of got a job there as an indirect result. It's something that, it's an application that it's almost sandbox. And that's probably my biggest gripe with it, is that it's great for artists. It's great for, as I said last week, people who want to learn to get into the experience. My impression of it was the model fidelity has gone tenfold. Like, the models that you can find in the game are really impressive, and I think people put their hearts and souls into that. The environments are about the same grade in terms of what I got to experience. There weren't like huge leaps and bounds. I was expecting more interactivity, but a lot of the environments are heavily static. The one thing that I did find that I found to be really good fun, which felt like playing Team Fortress, was playing Blood and Steel, which is a game where you're trying to rob a bank, and we played like, I think it was 5v5. It was very good. So you have a pistol, you can lasso someone and get them into jail. If you're on the robber's side, you're trying to go steal from banks. So there's definitely little communities popping up within VRChat, and I think that's probably what it's good. It's an ecosystem, isn't it? In the end of the day.
I think you hit the nail on the head there, because I think as well, like the first time I jumped in, like the models are all really great, but I'm kind of like missing still like what is like the core thing that you can like do in VRChat, except for like, you know, of course it's community build and everyone makes their own thing, but I would like to see more of those, like instead of like just models and like very static worlds that are being built, more interactive kind of experiences that start to pop up. Like
a bit like Rec
have
Room,
like a
right?
couple of them. Like Rec Room.
A bit like Rec Room, yeah, because we all played Rec Room together, and
Yeah.
it's funny because we bounced around to different things, disc golf and not Orbitron. What's it called?
Jumbotron,
the questing.
Jumbotron. Yeah.
That stuff was really good. Like what I felt like, if I was to compare the 3 apps that I used to frequent, so Altspace was quite good at hosting comedy or having events. They were like almost the event planner of the VR apps. Janus VR, for those who don't know what it is, you walk the web. So they take you and they automatically generate. It's basically a markup language. So if you know HTML and CSS and all that, you can write your web page so that it appears for 2D users on flat. And then in Janus, it turns into an environment, a room, series of rooms, things you can do, things you can interact with, you can play old Virtual Boy games, that kind of stuff. So if I come to this podcast in Janus and someone else does, I'll see them. It's the same way if I was to go visit, a dodgy website. So it's funny. You get to see other people in that environment. So if you like go to Reddit back in the day, you go to Reddit and there will be like 70 people there, all looking at images and articles. And I remember the Reddit cats page was really popular. Loads of people walking around looking at pictures of cats, which were paintings on the wall. So Janice's idea, I think, is awesome. I don't think they're going to be the ones to deliver it. I think it's going to be Amazon or Google who are going to make the VR web. Facebook. And I think that's really a step towards the oasis that we all want. But I think that VRChat it's kind of for the modelers and the designers and that side.
The cosplayers.
And actually, as a meme fortress, it's not bad. As I said I've loved the Ugandan Knuckles meme. I really have. I think it's hilarious. I think it totally deserves the airspace it's getting. And honestly, as an app, they're just feeling the same pains and growing pains that any other one of these social apps is, which is you get in. Oculus felt it, right? If there's no boundary controls, Altspace felt it. You can go up and grope people and get in their face, and some people don't like it, and some people don't care. So that's where we are at the moment with it, and they just need to spend some time and bolt that stuff down, up their performance, and it'll be a better experience. But to Rowdy's point, the main takeaway for me was probably it's skippable at the moment, performance-wise, and it doesn't seem to have a focus, but I think it's because that focus is just inspiring people to create. Yeah, I think that's what it's doing best.
It's interesting that you mentioned about, like, you saw someone with full body trackers and it felt very immersive, and the feeling of presence was there, because that kind of brings us on nicely to our next topic, and that was that a guy actually had a seizure in VRChat. So this week, content creator Rogue Shadow VR, he was recording some VR content for his YouTube channel, and then unexpectedly, completely out of the blue, another player in the world started to have a seizure, right, when they were in this room. But what makes this story even crazier is that this player had full body trackers on when he was in the game. So like Zim mentioned, they were tracking his feet and his hands, obviously with the wands. And you can clearly hear in the video, if you watch it, that the player was struggling to breathe at some points. He was lying on the floor, kind of moving around. And everyone kind of stopped what they were doing. They sort of saw that this player was lying on the floor. And some people kind of saying, like, is this real? Because obviously, as we know in VRChat, there's a lot of people that mess around all the time. But then it became clear quite quickly that, he was actually having a seizure. And props to Rogue Shadow, actually, because he was pretty quick to identify that this guy was actually having a seizure and call it out and say, hey guys, he's not messing around, he is having a seizure, because you could tell by the way he was breathing and the way he was moving on the floor that it was genuine. So the thing is that they can see this in the virtual world, but they don't know what to do, right? Because he's in a virtual world. Like, how do we help him? So they were kind of having a bit of a discussion on what they can do to help him. And then one of the players was like, trying to get everyone away from him, trying to clear the space. And then another player was like talking to him, like, calmly, trying to sort of get a reaction from him or wake him up. And then another guy was like, oh, dude, he's having a seizure. Let him just deal with it. Like, there's not much we can do for him. Just let him deal with it. Give him his space. Try to be a little bit quiet, because if he wakes up, he's going to be still wearing this headset and he's still going to be in this virtual world, so we don't want to freak him out too much. And there was another player actually in the room that was like a kind of multicolored psychedelic ragdoll that was like changing RGB colors. Wendy's. And the thing is, like, that could have been the thing that actually set him off in the first place. Yeah. And other players will go into this avatar like, just, dude, like, get out of the way, because if he wakes up, what we don't want to do is spark him off to have another one. So yeah, he actually was fine. He did actually get up and he was fine, and he said that, I've had a seizure, and they were talking to him afterwards and he said, I've had a seizure before, but it was like when I was younger. And then he actually did an interview with Kotaku, and he said that he doesn't actually suffer from epilepsy, but it just was one of those things that happened. He had a seizure, like I say, when he was younger, but not ever since. And it was completely unpredicted that it was going to happen. But it was interesting to see how everyone reacted to it. Like, obviously some people were dicks, because they didn't think it was genuine, or they didn't really know how to behave when something like this happens. But most of the people, like most of the community in the room, were very respectful and were just trying to work out how they help this individual. And I think they pretty much did the right thing. They were giving him space, calmly talking to him, and then moving everyone else that could trigger another seizure away from him. Yep. But imagine something like this happening. Like, you've never, had something like this happen before. And imagine having a seizure and then waking up and you're still in this virtual world. Like, how crazy would that be? It's a really crazy thing to imagine.
I think it's a maturing area, actually, Mike. I had an issue early on in my stream where we befriended somebody, and then they were suicidal, essentially, and we thought they were just about to off themselves. And it was something where you're like, this is a friend of mine. I don't have a telephone number. I have nothing. I don't even have the physical location of this person. And it's like, how do I help? And you end up like, we ended up like phoning, local hospitals and police force and just try to get it in touch as you can. I mean, that situation did resolve itself. So nothing happened, thankfully, in that case. But do we have a panic button in VR for people who are in other countries? We don't have anyone policing this area. We don't have a support structure around.
It's also
how do we
new,
ring the bell
it's
to say
new.
somebody needs help?
But I do think that's a good suggestion for social experiences like VRChat and like Rec Room, or like there's kind of like things where you get a lot of people together. That maybe a panic button or something like that would be a good addition to that. Yeah.
Or even just to register my details, who to call in case I'm in trouble. Something like that.
Yeah.
Like what you do with an airline, because you submit your airline details when you sign up, and you say in case of an emergency. Right? Yeah. Contact this person. You could do the same thing. Because what happens to streamers, as you guys probably know, is this whole thing called swatting. So I don't know, does it happen to YouTubers? Have any famous YouTubers been done?
I don't think so, because I think the whole idea of swatting is that you see the police arrive at the house live on stream, isn't it? It's kind of like half the...
No, but YouTube streaming, I meant. Sorry.
Oh, right, I see.
No idea.
Not that I'm aware of.
And today in my video, I'm going to be swatted.
No, but I seriously think that could be a great idea. If you, maybe let's say you have like a little button on like the headset, or you need to press a certain thing to send out a signal or anything.
For a second,
would be nice,
for a second I thought, swatting on YouTube, that would be a great idea. I was like, huh?
Exactly, that's what I thought. I thought Nathie was promoting.
No, but I like when I think about this, I think that would be good, where it's like in Steam VR or Oculus Home in the system, and then people could maybe use that. But this is something that doesn't happen that much, so I don't think they will see the importance of that yet. Like if it becomes like totally mainstream, where everyone is using this on a daily basis, then we will see that kind of stuff. Like you have with a phone now as well. Like if something happens to me, I can press a few buttons on my phone and it will send out a signal. Yeah. Same with VR, but then it first needs to become a bigger thing. Right now we had the first like seizure ever in VR, and I don't know. It's maybe a little bit too small for.
I wonder if does refresh rate come into it at all? I just wonder, because.
But there's a
what
lot.
headset was he using?
There's a lot of causes that
for
seizures. I mean, it's not only epilepsy. There's also like there's so many different things that can cause a seizure.
Loads.
So I mean, that he has had it before is a sign that there is something that is triggering it.
Yeah. But like you say, it could be caused by low blood sugar level, high blood sugar level, withdrawal from alcohol. Flashing lights, different colors.
Anesthetic can do it as well. My cousin of mine had 12 years of seizures because of anesthetic. She's allergic to anesthetic, and the problem is your blood cell will take that anesthetic in and bury it in the cell. And then if you're low on food or whatever, and your body reaches to that cell for energy and pulls it out again, the toxin comes out and boom, trigger again. So she was like triggering like loads and loads and loads, and then less and less and less, and it just destroyed her career and everything. But yeah, absolutely. You don't know what the trigger of the seizure is going to be. It just happens. And I've been in that environment in like a call center area, and someone just collapses on the side, and boom, they're in full seizure mode for 10 minutes. Yeah. It's hard.
It's a scary thing. I've seen someone falling off his bike like that as well, like full seizure while he was cycling.
Jeez.
Yeah, it was horrible.
Yeah, but in the end, there are so many things that may cause this in the end. It's the same when we spoke about the guy who died in VR, where we had no, like, there could be so much going on at that very moment. So, but I think it would be good to look into the future of, hey, if something happens to you and there's no phone nearby, can I use my headset to actually call someone, or,
But I think even just the tools in the menus to say, like, this is an emergency button, and then a moderator, because they do have moderators in VRChat, then they know what to do and they're trained to deal with the situation. That would be one of the better things in the interim anyway. But it was just very interesting to see how people reacted to it.
One feature that's kind of interesting that I didn't know about for a while is that if you have an activity tracking watch, a lot of them have built into it, if your heart is giving signals of a heart attack, it will warn you. It'll be like, do you want to call emergency services? Because it looks like you're having a heart attack.
Yeah.
I mean, if you got that message on your watch right now, Mike, you might just have a heart attack because of that. I mean, it's like,
yeah.
But we can see those kinds of features potentially being there in VR in the future, where it's like,
But,
you know.
Yeah, if wearable tech and technology can detect something like that and save someone's life, well, then it was worth the research and investment in.
They're already doing that.
Investing in
They're
the
already
technology.
doing that with like sportsmen. Like they track everything they basically do, and if their heart rate is too high, they will get notified, or if their heart rate is too low while exercising, all of that kind of stuff is already being monitored for sports people.
Yeah.
So really cool comment from Paradise DK. He says like if the eye tracking actually becomes a thing in every headset, it could be used as a warning device. If someone's eyes are shut for a while, then it will just act.
Yeah.
It's a bit like the Tesla when you were driving and you fall asleep, and then it's like the steering was like, oh, what is happening? And then it just puts your car to the side of the road. You know, it's like an automated system. So.
And I wonder if the eye tracking could detect like the quick movements of your eyes, because I understand that's a byproduct of having a seizure as well, that your eyes can flicker around a little bit, that they could detect whether you're having a seizure or not. Maybe that way. That would be very interesting indeed. Yeah, there's a nice comment from Paradise Decay. Very interesting indeed. So yeah, that is obviously what happened in the news in terms of that. I just want to quickly talk about one final topic before we wrap the show up, and that is we got some information that a new Alien game is coming. So Foxnet Games, which is a relatively new branch of Fox, they're actually going to be making a new Alien game, which I think is quite exciting, because I hope that this one, there's no mention obviously that it's going to be VR just yet, but I hope that they implement a VR support with this, because you know the studio that are working on it have previous talent from games like Doom, Borderlands, Bioshock, Infinite. So maybe they'll see that the VR mod was very, very popular for Alien Isolation, and that they should maybe incorporate it in their new game. I think I would be very interested to see a native VR Alien game.
Correction though, not even a mod, it was an actual thing they built by themselves. You know, Sega did that, right? So yeah.
The original was the way they released it, Mike, back in 2014, because that was one of the first games I played loads. I played it through the 3 times the campaign. It was just an ini file edit where you basically go enable, and it was there. It's just
part of the launch,
the new mod that came out, the Mother whatever mod. Did some things a bit better and re-enabled that which the CV1 software progression broke. So actually, Alien Isolation had native VR support where they said, it doesn't really, but you just switch a variable. It did, but they didn't want to advertise it as such. And then like a year and a half later, somebody modded it back in because it was so bloody good. And so
and
two generations of people have experienced it. And I would agree with you 100%. Fantastic horror experience, great game. It was actually the first AAA game that I'd say I loved in VR for years. Nathie's done the same.
Very intense, but also because it was a part of the launch. So this VR thing they had, this now mod, was something they advertised with. You know, they had IGN and other websites go sit in a room and they were recording that, and also at conventions you could try it. But it's just really, really cool, and I think they did it not by accident. They just left it in there in the files. They could have taken it out if they wanted, but they kept it in. So yeah, you can play the whole campaign, and it works great. What I want to say though is a couple of months ago we thought there was an Alien game coming for VR. It was called like Alien Covenant Utero something, and Oculus and also Vive, I think they were like hyping it up with screenshots, and we're like, here we go. But then it was a 360 of like 20 seconds, and I do have to say the 360 was really, really nice and kind of cool, because you were getting attacked by a little baby xenomorph, but or not even attacked, you were actually so you were growing into a xenomorph, but they kind of killed it with that back then, with like the excitement. So I really hope, I mean, they must have seen that people loved it years ago. But who's gonna make it, by the way? Because if it's Sega again, then I'm sure they know what they want to do.
They
with
did
that.
already say,
No,
though, that it has nothing to do with alien isolation. Oh.
Yeah, they have, but it's made by it's going to be made by Fox next, which is you know, a branch of Fox. So you know, like you say, they've got previous experience making a 360. They've got previous experience implementing VR in a game. So let's just keep our fingers and toes crossed that they have some VR
It's a dice
support in
roll,
this one.
man. Yeah, it's a dice roll.
Yeah. So
yeah,
I was going to ask you guys, like, if there's one movie franchise that you love, and you could make it into a VR game, what would it be?
The Matrix! Duh! the Matrix!
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh.
What about you, Nathie? You got one off the top of your head?
Back to the Future and Inception.
Okay.
That's not one.
For me,
So this is the one that I would love to see because I think it would work really well in VR, and that is RoboCop because it's one of like my favorite films of all time.
Isn't that already being worked on? I think that's already being worked on, Mike.
Please tell me it is because that would be so exciting.
Are you trolling him now?
Because the way I see it could play out is that you obviously start as Murphy, a normal cop, like teaming up with his buddy Lewis, and you're responding to calls, and then obviously it all goes wrong. You actually get blown away, like, you know, and then you die, and then you come back as a machine.
Yeah, it would
I
work.
just think that would be so freaking cool because you play as a normal guy, and then obviously you could then almost watch you being like turned into a machine, and then like seeing your hands for the first time as a machine and testing out his new abilities. That is just so cool and would work so well in VR. Also, I
and for
want
your
to fight.
girlfriend, Harry Potter, of course.
Yeah, of course. Well, actually, spoiler alert, there is a Harry Potter experience coming out very soon, which is obviously the Fantastic Beasts one. I think it's actually going to release next week if you're interested in that. But having seen Ed.20 in H's garage from Ready Player One, it made me think, like, facing off a real Ed.20 in a game would just be so freaking sweet.
Yeah.
So RoboCop would definitely be mine. But what about you, Rowdy? Have you got a franchise that you love dearly that you would love to see in VR?
yeah, Lord of the Rings. I really like that one, but I would really like not just shooting orcs or something, but really the storyline of that one. Like
what I'd love to see is that we could all go in together and Nathie could be the Schmeagol and we could like be
exactly. Like everyone is like a character. Like we go into the mines of Moria, and Nathie is like chasing us.
I actually think they could do. I mean, if they took like a Skyrim scale game and did Lord of the Rings,
But no,
you really have to do it justice.
I wouldn't want it.
right, though.
I wouldn't want it to be an open world though. I really want it to be sticking to the storyline and like you know, playing out the story, playing out the entire character of that one. Yeah.
I'd actually go for just the Hobbit. You know, the what the first book does. I'd go for the Hobbit, that journey. Not the. I don't know if I've seen the film. I don't think I have.
Okay.
Wow, you should. You should.
I heard it. I heard it was a step back from the others, but anyway.
What would also be very, very nice in VR, the story of like Willy Wonka, and then just going through this whole like factory, you know, and sit in the boat with the Oompa Loompas playing the drums.
You are
That
so
must be
tongue in
scary.
cheek right now. No way. No way. Is that a serious recommendation that you would do Willy Wonka?
When I was at Oculus Unwrapped in London, I spoke to Warner Brothers about Willy Wonka, and they said like we really want to bring our franchises to VR in that way. So what you are saying here, even if you are a hater,
Sorry,
haters,
no. Willy Wonka's fine. Actually,
Okay.
went through my head was Free Willy. So we're fine with Willy Wonka. I back that. Free Willy not. I was imagining you
Come
with
on,
like the belly of the whale.
sticking out a hand, like standing
I want
on
to
the
be a
pier.
whale.
seriously. You can just
Jump.
you can drink out of the chocolate river and then you
I agree.
go
I
into
agree.
the
It'd be
elevator
cool.
and you shoot out of the factory into the sky and oh boy.
Yeah.
Well,
James and the
Yeah, that
Giant
would be
Peach
cool.
can be the next one then.
but how could they, like, guys, what do you think about like how could they implement that? As Rowdy said, like it should be like they will never build the whole movie as a VR game, not yet. We will hopefully see that in the future. But right now, would they go for like maybe a mini story or maybe flying from scene to scene and
Room
then
escape.
just kind of
I'd go room escape on it.
Yeah.
I think you could do a cool, like, not like I'm locked in a room and I gotta get, but some kind of puzzler type of thing where it's not too many scenes, it's not too expensive for them to craft it, and have like almost like a teaser for a next game. And if there's enough interest, then fund the full project. That's what I'd do.
Yeah.
Interesting, but it seems like Warner Brothers certainly are nailing it with their movie tie-ins and their franchises, definitely showing them much more love than Sony seem to be right now.
There's a great one in chat. Never-ending story.
Oh
That
yeah,
would be cool.
that would be awesome.
That is
one awesome,
give a shout out.
awesome
Cool
movie.
Country.
Flying that
Nice
dog
job.
dragon thing across the sky.
Yeah,
Definitely.
that would be super sweet.
Fucking
So
hands.
that is the end of the show, guys. So just to remind you, this is a weekly VR, AR, and MR talk show that is live streamed every Saturday on Nathie's YouTube channel. Tune into the show live at 4 p.m. in Europe, 3 p.m. in the UK, and 9 a.m. in Central US. If you missed the podcast, you can catch up with it every Sunday, where I upload the whole video to my own channel, Virtual Reality Oasis. Or alternatively, check out the audio-only version, available on Google Play Music and on iTunes. Thanks for being part of the show, guys. As you can probably tell, we're having a lot of fun making it. And we'll see you on next week's episode. Have an awesome week, and we'll see you then. Bye-bye.
Bye. See you
It's so
later.
weird. I can get mine as well.